So today in this video, we're going to talk to you about these binoculars. We normally talk about cameras and we normally talk about lenses and microphones, but we haven't done anything on these yet and people have been crying out for it. So today we're going to show you the differences between different sizes of binoculars, different magnifications, and what you need to know before you buy. Here we go, over to you. So if you're after a really small, handy, pocket-sized binocular, then something this kind of size, and we're using the Nikon ones for reference in this video. These are the Nikon Monarch HGs and they're the 8x30s. And those two numbers are quite significant and they allow you to determine the type of binocular that you're going for. The first number meaning the magnification, second number means the diameter of the lens, or i.e. the size of the actual binocular itself. So we'll show you some other binoculars as we go on. You'll see other ones like 10x42s, 10x50s, etc, etc. But those are the basics of those. So why would you go for a smaller set? Well, that's quite simple, isn't it? You don't want to carry as much weight. You also want them to be pocket sized and make sure that they fit into your bag. So if we're going for something like a x25 or a x30 is going to be much better, and that's what those numbers mean. It's the size of the optic and the diameter. So when you're looking at a row of binoculars, you see a larger one on the side, you'll notice it's normally a higher number in the second number. If you go for something like a 8 or a 10x, which is your magnification, 8 is naturally wider. So if you think of it in terms of lenses and millimeters, the wider the lens, the lower the number in millimeters. The same applies with binoculars and optics. So if you go for an 8x, that's going to give you a wider field of view, and that's much more preferred for things like sightseeing, general day-to-day use. You can also use it for wildlife, that kind of thing as well, particularly if you're looking at birds. What we find with people who prefer a wider optic is when they're looking at birds, birds don't tend to stay still. And we're going to demonstrate this because we've got some lovely swans with us today, and Stuart's really excited about, you can see by the expression on his face. And we're going to show you birds in flight, and we've got some really nice bigger sort of seagull type birds, I think they're seagulls anyway, flying about, and you're able to track a lot easier with an 8x magnification or a 10x because they're a wider field of view. So if something moves, you're able to follow it a lot easier. If you're too far zoomed in, then you can find that can sometimes be a struggle. So that's why you would go for a set like this. So when you're going for a smaller set, what you're going to find is they're a lot easier to hold, and generally that keeps you more steady. But also when you're working at a wider field of view, things tend to be more steady because you're not as zoomed in. So think of it again like lenses. If you've got a 4.5 or a 600mm lens, you know you're probably going to use that with a tripod or have a camera with inbuilt body stabilization just to make it more steady. The same applies with binoculars. If you're too far zoomed in, you're going to find it really hard to keep still. So we go for a smaller set and a wider field of view because they're generally more steady. So if you're going for a x42 binocular, which you can see is noticeably bigger, and it's got a bigger diameter around the lens as well, which means it's got bigger lenses in it. But what you'll find with some of them is they're also the same magnification. So they're an 8 or a 10x. Generally speaking, when it comes to these sizes, it's down to personal preference. Some people like a bigger binocular because they feel firmer in the hands, but they also allow more light in at that diameter as well, so they tend to be clearer. At that point, it really just comes down to personal preference and how much you're happy to spend on them. But remember, these are also fully waterproof as well. Some binoculars are, some aren't, so it really just comes down to preference. With this, again, it provides the same field of view as the smaller ones that I've shown you, but you're getting a bigger optic and a bigger size, firmer grip in the hands, and they're just cool. So why would you spend a lot more money on something like an 8x42 Monarch, which will cost you quite a bit more compared to say an 8x42 in the P series or the Pro Staff series? It comes down to glass quality. You're going to get much higher quality glass in something like this, which is going to reflect the light a lot better and give you a clearer and sharper image. So if you're after high quality optics, then of course you are going to have to pay a bit more for them. If you go for something that's a little bit cheaper, but still good quality, bear in mind, then of course you spend a bit less and get the same size and magnification. But where it comes to other types of binoculars like Swarovski and Zeiss, for example, they provide high quality optics, and that's why they will cost you £2,000 or £3,000. So at that point, you're very much paying for quality. So if you want the best binoculars, you will pay a fortune for them. But if you want something that's decent, that's not going to cost you an arm and a leg, then you're looking at a couple of £100. At that point, you're then deciding whether you want something waterproof, whether you want a favorite brand of yours. There's a lot of other options to go through. So at that point, you're going to get what you pay for with these. What kind of brands are available for binoculars? Well, there's a lot. There's quite a few. We sell a lot of them at Camera Center. We sell Swarovski, Zeiss, Opticron, Bar & Stroud, Fujifilm, Nikon, Olympus, Pentax. Give me some others too. Canon. We've done Bar & Stroud. Canon do IS binoculars as well. There's a lot of different types of binoculars. Really, they're all good. It comes down to preference, it comes down to price point, and they all give you very, very good options and a good selection to choose from. Some manufacturers will go more for a waterproof one. I know Fujifilm do that, for example, and so do Nikon. Others will go for the premium quality glass like Swarovski, Zeiss, Opticron also do a few good ones as well. It really comes down to what you prefer to use, what kind of magnification suits you and what kind of thing you're after. So for the purpose of this video, I've mentioned Nikon, primarily the Monarch series and the P7s, which we've kindly been lent by Nikon for this video today. But if you do want to try any of these, by all means pop into our store. We've got these, we've got a whole different series of binoculars for you to look at in the Nikon range. So if you do want to look at them, pop in, but we do have all the other brands. We've got Swarovski, we've got Zeiss, we've got Opticron. Let's do it again. Canon, Olympus, Pentax, all the other brands you could possibly think of. Pop in the Camera Centre UK, come and give them a try. It's a bit hard to show you on a video what it looks like through a set of binoculars, so just come in and see us, we'll sort you out. Excuse me, you're in my video. We haven't covered everything today about binoculars in this video because this is just about getting the basics down so that you guys can make the best decision for you. I might have forgotten to add a few things in. So here's what we're going to add in on top. What kind of binoculars suit certain kinds of people, you're probably wondering. Now, if you're a general walker, traveler, want something nice and light and small, an 8x25 or an 8x30 is going to suit you way better because it's nice and compact, nice and small, but also you're getting that wider field of view as well. If you're somebody that is into bird watching, you may find something a bit bigger is a bit more steady and stable in the hands. And particularly as well, most bird watchers tend to go out when the light levels are coming down, either towards the end of the day or at the start of the day. So there's going to be more light coming through the optic at a by 42 or even a by 50 if you fancy it, or something, you know, a little bit smaller like a by 32 optic. So if you're into looking at trains or boats in a lot of respects as well, or even in some respects aircraft if you want to. If you're going for a larger size like a by 42, sometimes in some respects a by 32 if you want to go a little bit smaller, and most bird watchers, people that look at boats or even trains as well, tend to go for a larger optic. They tend to be out and about in lower light situations, so particularly at sundown or sunrise, because that's when birds are more prevalent. You get more light through a larger optic, so they tend to go for a by 42, by 32, by 50, etc, etc. If you are going for longer magnifications, if you're looking at boats but you specifically want to zoom in on boats, particularly the details, something like a by 20, by 25 or larger optic is going to give you way more magnification. But at that point, you're going to have quite a sizable binocular. So you're probably going to want to be on a tripod, particularly because you're further zoomed in. You're going to be a lot shakier and they're very hard to handhold at that point. So a larger magnification is going to suit somebody who wants to zoom right in and pick out the finer details that they're after. So if you are going for a much larger magnification like a by 20, by 25 or a by 30 or even bigger at that point, the reason you would do that is if you're looking at things on a larger distance. A lot of people who are looking at stargazing and that kind of thing as well will go for a longer magnification because of course stars are very far away. So you need a longer magnification for that. If you're looking at specific boats, for example, off in the distance, a larger magnification is going to be way more useful for you. So going for something like a by 20, by 30 or by 40 or anything bigger than that is going to be the reason why you pick the magnification. But if you did like this video, we'd really appreciate it if you would like, comment and subscribe to our channel. It really helps us in the long run build an audience, build a following and get these videos out to more people. So hopefully we'll see you again soon. Bye!